It had really, really blown into a full-blown addiction. I'm hurting everybody in my life. I'm making the worst decisions in my life, and I can't stop. And then I remember waking up in a hotel room, and there's blood all over the bed.
Welcome to CNIC Route. I'm your host, Christine Nicholson, and I put the CNIC in CNIC Route. This is a safe destination where alcoholics, addicts of all types, and victims of trauma can feel comfortable sharing their journey. And today, we're going to do just that. Who you just saw was my dear friend Jennifer Simmons. She's a 38-year-old wife, mother of 3 boys, and a devout Christian author who wrote Blessed at Bedtime. She's also co-founder of the Beautiful Basics blog along with her mother. Jennifer, or Jen as I like to call her, is about to boldly share what it's like to be 10 years sober without a continuous program of recovery, which ends in relapse. Relapse is common without a 12-step program like AA or NA. As a matter of fact, Jen no longer views herself as an alcoholic or an addict, but as a new creation, as per the 2 Corinthians 5:17 scripture that I read to you just last week. Keep in mind while watching this that she is a real person, doing the best she can in life, just like most of us are. She's also a sweet, fun-loving friend who gives one heck of an interview. I hope you enjoy her incredibly candid, raw, and vulnerable journey as much as I did. Here's Jennifer Simmons, y'all. So, how the heck are you, Jen?
Great!
It's so good to see you. Let's just cut right to it. Are you currently sober?
Well, wow, that's a big question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a glass of wine every once in a while at dinner with my husband. So, I don't know, we don't ever drink to get drunk.
Yeah. Now, how do you feel about the use of alcohol after your past? And just so we know what your past is, give us an idea of how the relationship between you and alcohol has been through the years.
Okay, so when I was around the age of 15, I made a friend playing soccer, and I never really touched drugs or drinking before that, but then I just happened to make friends with a girl on a soccer team who kind of introduced me into drinking and drugs. And then it was kind of like in high school, I started off... Well, do you want me to start with drugs?
Yeah. I mean...
Okay, so I became friends with this girl in high school, and we would skip one class every once in a while. And that was back in the day where you didn't really get in trouble for skipping classes. Like, they would leave a voicemail at your house, so I never got caught for a really long time. But she had an apartment right across from the high school, and we would go and we would skip like one class. But I remember being around the age of 15, and we skipped school one day, and she was like, hey, I have this, bag of powder or whatever, and it ended up being cocaine. So I was really more introduced to cocaine pretty quickly, and then the alcohol just kind of like came along with that. But it turned into like skipping school every once in a while, to skipping school a lot, to sneaking out of my house on weekends. And like, that's how my relationship. And then by the time I graduated, it was just like a full-blown addiction.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that you started young. And isn't it funny how when you start with drugs, alcohol is always along for the ride?
Yeah.
It always feels like that.
Yeah.
I can relate completely. Through the years, how has that progressed? Has it progressed, or how did you deal with the increase or decrease of your usage as you grew?
Well, it's interesting because like I would go in spurts like a lot of drug addicts, but like, you would get a little bit and then binge for a few days, and then you go like a week sometimes or whatever. But I would say even in high school, I had gotten to a place where I was doing it, during school, a couple times at church, and definitely when I snuck out at night. So it had really, really blown into a full-blown addiction. And it's when I graduated high school, I was kind of at this place where I like wanted to clean up my life and I wanted a fresh start. And so my brother was going to a private university. It was the Assembly of God University up in the DFW area. And I wanted to quit. Like, I was tired of the lifestyle and tired of making my parents feel the way they felt. And so I applied to this school and I got in. And what's funny is I had a pretty good GPA, like a B+ GPA. So I got into this private university, and then when I was there, I got a job waiting tables, and it immediately, like, it finds you again, or you find it. Too. Yeah, the industry waiting tables is horrible. Mm-hmm. But I remember thinking, I want to run away from this. I want to start over. But then as soon as I started over, it was just right there again. And so it was about 10 solid years of just a full-blown addiction. So it was horrible.
And what was alcohol like during that time? Was it always a part of it still, or? Yeah,
well, the alcohol with my drug of choice, I know it's so different with kids these days, like what they do.
I know.
But cocaine, the alcohol would bring it down. And so it's like I could do more cocaine the more I drank, and the more I drank, it was just like this horrible cycle. And looking back, I don't even know how my body can handle those things.
I don't know either. I feel the same way.
Yeah. So it's just like the alcohol was hand in hand because it brought me down, or it slowed me down to where I could just do more all night.
Wow. So in essence, it kind of felt like it had to be a part of the drug use.
Right.
Yeah. I did the same thing. So, I mean, with my drug use, I was using alcohol to control. I was always trying to manipulate the high so that it was always better.
Yeah.
And so using the alcohol just kind of helped it. So did you ever feel at any point that you had it was out of control, or?
Yeah. I mean, I think it takes you a while to like realize, I have a really big problem with this. But I think I realized I knew I had a problem with it when I was getting really serious with Nate, who I'm married to now. And I really, I met him and I fell in love and we dated. And I was like, oh, he's great. He's wonderful. Like, he could be a great dad, a great provider. And I was like, I'm going to quit because I really want to spend the rest of my life with him. And I know that I can't have the life that I want with him if I'm doing these A, B, C things. So when I really tried to quit and I really couldn't, that's when you're like, oh, I'm full-blown addicted to this. Like, I'm hurting everybody in my life. I'm making the worst decisions in my life, and I can't stop.
Were there any tactics that you would try to do to make yourself regulate? Or, some people will do like, okay, I'll only do it on the weekends or during this time of day. Do you remember any tactics that you would use to try to control it?
Yeah, I feel like on weekends that was definitely, if I had a really bad day at work, like if I worked a double shift, I was always like, well, I kind of deserve this. Or if we got in a fight, me and Nate or an ex-boyfriend, it was just a crutch. But it's really a crutch from like, I don't want to face past pain in my life or past disappointment, so I'm just going to numb myself and just keep going.
Been there.
Yeah.
So how did you overcome it? Did you take that long CNIC route, or do you ever do 12 steps or therapy? What are some ways that you tried to?
So this is kind of interesting. I don't know if I've ever told you this.
I would love to see. Let's find out.
Okay, so with Nate, we dated 4.5 years, and then he proposed. And then I was like, I'm not going to do drugs ever again, but I'm only going to drink. Well, that turned out to be a disaster because I would drink and I would black out immediately because I didn't have the cocaine to like balance it out.
Oh, right.
And so I remember one night I went out and I didn't do cocaine, but I did drink with him and his sisters. And I got so drunk, I ended up almost getting in a fist fight in a bar parking lot with one of Nate's sisters.
No.
And the cops were called, and then we had to leave. And I remember, it's one of those days where it was one of those times where I like woke up by myself, I think in the back of my own car, and I didn't have my wallet. I didn't have my keys. I didn't know where my cell phone was. Like, I didn't even know where I was. And you're just like, what happened? And so after that, we were engaged at the time.
Oh my goodness.
And so I was such a disaster. And then I remember thinking, he cannot marry me. Like, I am such a mess. There's no way this guy is going to marry somebody like me. I wouldn't marry me. Mm-hmm. And so we met up at a restaurant called Rockfish in Irving, in Las Colinas. And I took him back his ring. And we're sitting at dinner and I'm sobbing. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm such a freaking mess. Here's your ring back. And then when I handed Nate the ring, he was like, okay, wait, listen. Like, obviously you're a mess. I guess I've never told you this. No. Okay, so when I was at Rockfish, I'm sobbing. I can't remember if he was crying or not, but we're sitting there and he's like, how about we try something we've never tried before? And I was like, I'll try anything because, like, I love you and I want this to work. And so he said, how about we quit drinking altogether, like sober? And then I was like, okay, well, we'll see how that works out. And then he said, and we're going to get rid of all of our friends that drink. All of them.
Whoa.
And then he said, and we're going to find a church. And then we found a church. And I was like, okay. And he was like, I want you to keep the wedding ring. I want to, like, still marry you. And I was like, this guy's nuts. Like, he's crazy. I can't believe he would. I literally almost punched his sister the night before in a bar parking lot. And so
she's a keeper. She's a keeper.
I'm crazy. And so we did. We got rid of all our friends. I went cold sober for 10 years straight.
Whoa.
And then, we found a wonderful church, Gateway, and they were there. Oh my gosh. They just nurtured me back to life. But when I got sober, I ended up in a 12-step program in a church, and I was in it for like 2 years with a sponsor. But you know what?
Recovery.
I think that's what makes me different is I don't like going to those. So I just don't. Oh, that sounds so bad on your podcast.
No, it doesn't sound bad. It actually answers a lot of questions because whenever you said that you were stone cold sober for 10 years. Mm-hmm. There's a term for that. They call them dry drunks. Yes. And basically just meaning you're white knuckling it. It's hard because you don't have anything really to fall back on. Usually people like nerds like me, we want to like really dig in there. I mean, nerds like me after years of being in and out of the doors. Like I was in and out of the door since 2005. And then I realized, okay, I do want to keep my family. I do want to be sane. Yeah. I want to be able to recognize myself in the mirror. Yeah. And so I decided to really give the 12 steps a go at it. Yeah. And because it just opened the doors for me to why I wanted the drink and why I wanted the drug. It's still running.
Well, I fully agree with that.
Yeah.
Because, when I did the 12 steps, it's a lot of deep inner healing. Mm-hmm. But you know what I didn't like about it was them saying, you're going to have to do these meetings for the rest of your life. And I'm like, if I have kids, I don't want to stop my life to go to a meeting. I don't know. I look at it so differently.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, no. I think this is so interesting. So you did... During the 2 years that you were in the 12-step program, you finished the 12 steps?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is amazing.
Hardcore.
That is amazing. So what changed? You had the 10 years where you white-knuckled it, but then you also went to a 12-step program and did all the 12 steps. Mm-hmm. Found that you didn't like it because, give me the main core reason that
I felt like it was really depressing. And I know that sounds really sad, but it was just so depressing. You would go and you would, I know it's the point. The point is to like share your hurts and feelings. But I was like, this is so sad.
Yeah.
And so what I decided to do was like, I'm going to learn how to hear Jesus's voice. And so I went to Bible college. But not only that, when I stepped out of the program, the 12-step program at Gateway, I signed up for every single class on healing. I did abortion healing classes. I did Kairos 3 times. I signed up for every class on inner healing. And I was like hardcore committed to like, I'm going to find healing in Jesus, no matter the cost, no matter how many hours I study. And then Bible college in Dallas, that was for 3 years, 4 hours a night, Monday through Thursday.
Wow.
And so I would work 8 to 5, like a normal job. And then I would be in Dallas from 6 to 10. And I was like in Bible. I know it nearly destroyed our marriage, but I was like so committed to hearing God's voice to find that healing.
That's awesome. But I'd be remiss not to mention that a few sentences back, you mentioned the words Jesus and abortion.
Yeah.
The same sentence.
Yeah.
Can you expound upon that? What happened? I mean,
So this was before I met Nate, but like when I was dating a guy back before him, we were living together off and on. I was having the worst years of my addictions. Our lives were such a mess, and I ended up getting pregnant. And I was not ready to be a mom because I knew how bad my addiction was, and I was such a mess. It's like when people meet you, and you know this, when they meet you, they're like, I could never imagine you being a drug addict. And it's like, it's ugly. It's so ugly. You can't even tell somebody how bad it is.
I know.
Like waking up in your own vomit, or waking up where you don't even know whose place you're at, or like you can't find things. It's embarrassing.
It is.
But with the abortion, I met this guy. We lived together off and on, and it was like kind of abusive. And so I knew that I didn't want him to be the father of my baby, but just because of how bad our relationship was. And then also like the shame of telling your parents. I would say, I know that, I don't know, like it's so painful to have to tell your mom and dad, like I royally screwed up. And so I literally felt like I didn't have any other option. And so I went back and forth on it so long that I got a late term abortion at 22 weeks.
Wow.
And then it was really, really sad.
It's really been hard.
It was super hard. I think at the time, you know, when you're a drug addict, you just like, you don't think about things the right way. And so you're just kind of like, well, whatever, you know, nothing really matters to you in that stage of life. And so, but what's funny is when I got pregnant with my first son, I was at church and I had a baby kicking in my belly, and I was 22 weeks along, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was this far along when I aborted my last one. And I went down to the altar and I was weeping so hard that the prayer lady was like, do I need to call somebody? Aww. She thought something was really wrong, but it was like, no, you realize what you did years down the road from after making all those bad decisions.
I feel for you, but how amazing of you to be able to come on the show and share such a vulnerable story. This is going to really help people that have gone through the same thing, because you're not the first one for sure, and you won't be the last.
Well, it's funny because whenever I do events with my mom and stuff, it's like, that's the thing that people really relate to most. A lot of drug and alcohol, but like so many women have had them. And you know what's funny is when people come up and talk to me after conferences, it's older women that have like been like, I had a bunch. It's just like, it's really sad. It's really sad. But I did have this encounter with the Lord where I was on my knees one day in worship, and I was just like, it was almost like a vision. And I felt like what the Lord showed me was I was holding this little baby in my arms, and I was just crying, and I'm going to cry. I don't want to cry.
It's okay. We have tissue.
But, I felt like what the Lord said was, what you aborted, I'm giving back to you. And it's like, I still don't know what that means, but it was such a beautiful word from the Lord to be like, I'm not mad at you. it was a bad decision, a very bad decision, but it was almost like Jesus saying, like, I'm not holding this bad decision
Oh my gosh.
over your head. Because so many people, you know, they've made really bad decisions. And I think when you've been an addict for so long, you hurt so many people along the way that, like, it really takes a decade and even decades of, like, really working through all the pain that you've done to yourself, but other people as well. It takes a lot of self-reflection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're amazing. I mean,
you're
seriously.
amazing.
No, come on.
It.
Come on. Well, thank you for sharing that. And so let's go to how you are with drugs today.
Oh, don't touch drugs.
Okay. All right. We're going somewhere here.
Yeah.
Some positivity. Yeah. That's great.
Unless I have like a dental visit and they make me take one. But no, I don't touch drugs at all. But I was telling you this at breakfast the other day. Like, my husband and I hit a really rough patch, a hugely rough patch. And we had been dry for 10 years, hadn't touched alcohol. And I hit such a low spot in our marriage. I was like, I'll do anything to feel like this can be revived or we can connect. And so one day we were in Austin and I was like, hey, what if we have a glass of wine together? And he was like, what? And it was just like, I was so desperate.
Whoa, you're saying you're about to admit that you relapsed to save your relationship.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, I would probably do, I would do anything for my husband. Like, I would do anything.
Yeah.
And I just feel for you because the point of desperation that you probably have felt to save the marriage for you to break sobriety, that means a lot.
And you know, it's so funny. I was so nervous about drinking that I went to the bathroom and I had an upset stomach like 6 times.
Really?
Before I even had a glass of wine. And then when I ordered a glass of wine, we went to a little jazz bar. I kept having to run to the bathroom because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have a glass of wine. Wow. And I was so sick to my stomach that I could hardly drink it.
10 years is a long time.
And then when I drank it, what I ordered, I was like, I don't even know what to order. Like, I had no idea. And so, yeah. But I have to say, that's been a messy road. Like, I've had some bumps in the road since we've reintroduced it. And I've really had to kind of be like, you know, my husband's a really strong person. And he never goes overboard on anything. He's kind of my rock. But, yeah, it's been messy 2 or 3 times. And I'm always having to, like, search for the Lord's voice. It's such a hard line to walk.
How does that happen? Like, have you ever identified yourself as an alcoholic?
When I was in the 12-step program, for sure.
So how does that happen for you inside? Does it reactivate once you've made the decision to try to, you know, go back out? How do you feel on the inside as far as, does it mess with you chemically? Like, is it reactivating anything? How is that going for you?
So what's nice is at dinner it is nice to have like a piece of fish and a glass of wine. And it really is nice to have 2, but it's almost like I have to have this rule where I'm like, I can't have more than 2 or it's bad news. So it's kind of nice to know that, like, okay, I have these clear boundaries when before there were no boundaries. It was just like shots, snort a line of cocaine and like just go crazy. But it's like now, I don't know, it's different.
That's an amazing story. I don't think I've ever heard anybody like, and that's the thing, that's what kind of worries me is like, I haven't heard of anybody successfully going back out for long term. So how do you feel about that?
Well, I grew up in a really strict religion. So we were raised, my family, Assembly of God. And so we had a ton of rules. And I feel like I'm in this walk with the Lord where he's like, you know, walk with me. And I just feel like when there's hardcore rules of like no drinking at all, I don't know. I'm wondering if it's like religion or I just want to walk a life with my husband where we're happy, we're enjoying each other, and I'm enjoying the Lord. I'm enjoying my children. And, I don't know. It's almost like it's a personal conviction with everybody.
It's very interesting.
To this day, if you ask my mom, she'll be like, quit drinking. But then it's like when I'm with my husband, it's so nice to just have a glass and talk about our week at work or whatever.
Well, you said that it's been bumpy sometimes. I mean, do the bumps look anything like the bumps in the past, or are they remnants of past, or how does that look for you?
Not as bad as the past, but there's a couple that we hang out with, and it's almost like if I know I'm with that friend set, the two sets of them, I just know that they go overboard, and they're like, then you just feel egged on to go overboard. And so now I know I'm like, I just can't go out with those friends. And it's funny. It doesn't change. Peer pressure never changes.
Yeah.
No matter how old you get.
Yeah. It's really just how we react to it. So you have chosen, there wasn't one time where you're just like, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's just get crazy and just go down this rabbit hole and see where it takes us.
But you know what I think it is? I think it's the mom guilt. Like if I wake up and I don't feel like I'm 100% honed in on like my home and the kids, I feel like crap. Yeah. Like I will beat myself up to oblivion.
That mom guilt.
Because it's like those kids deserve a mom that's on it. And it's just, I cannot sleep all day. I can't, it's just like, that mom guilt is what I feel like keeps me from going overboard anymore.
Yeah. Well, I think that you being so extremely honest is refreshing and enlightening. No, it's so enlightening. Because we're in the middle of it, so I don't know where the road will lead for you. All I can do is wish you guys the best. You know, that's all I can do. Is just it's y'all's relationship. It's your conviction, and it's between you and the Lord. It's not much I can do to argue with that.
Yeah.
So, I feel like you do you. My only concern is like, just know if it does go left, like I'm here.
Oh yeah.
And like for me, the 12 steps are, definitely, I think different. Like the depressing aspect for me has been removed because I guess maybe it was the rooms that you were in, or maybe that particular group.
Yeah.
But I've had like a whole world opened up, like of fellowship with women that also know the Lord and they're sober, and
that's a good point. Maybe I just wasn't in a good group.
Yeah, could have been. It could have been.
But it was men and women together in my groups.
Wow. Well, I go to a lot of women's groups. Oh. Yeah, I really like the women's groups. No offense. I just think that it you can cut up and be a girl, know? It's just different. So that might be maybe what some of the reasons why you might have had a bad experience.
Yeah.
But and I only say this so maybe if you were to ever want to go back, just know it's not going to be always depressing. And I would take you to some really cool ones.
Well, I would go with you.
Yay.
For sure.
Well, cool. So let's get into your children's book. So tell us about what's it called? Just give us how was it like for you, somebody who had problems with drugs and alcohol, to become an entrepreneur?
Well, I feel like this is true of a lot of people that quit drugs, is like they just hone in on something and then they can't get it out of their brain. So like when I got clean and sober, I ran a full marathon. Like I just went crazy, and I was like working out, and I was like, if I'm not going to do drinking or drugs, like I'm going to be the healthiest person on the planet. And I remember I did a full marathon, and I started writing a lot. And then one day I was staying at home with my son, my firstborn son. And in like 30 minutes, I was like, I'm going to write a children's book. And I wrote it down. And then I paid an illustrator, I paid an editor, I paid all the people. And then it's like, then I just created. But the whole book is about blessing your children before you go to bed and speaking God's love over them. It's just like, I feel like Oh man, there's so many broken homes. What's the statistic? It's like over 80% of homes are dysfunctional now. So
I believe it.
So if you come from a functional home, like your home is lovely. It's like,
so is yours.
Yeah, well, it's just like, it's a rare thing and you should really treasure it. And blessing your kids is such a wonderful thing to do. And then I'm writing the second one and it's about how each kid is unique. And
I love it.
I do too.
Because, what's the second one? I mean, the first one is
Blessed at Bedtime. Yeah, and the second one's called More Unique Than You Think.
All right. And when can we expect that one out?
Probably like 3 more months. It takes so long.
Oh my goodness. And so 3 more months would be, just so for audience sake, right now we're in January. So it would be like around March.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
March of 2022. So look out for it.
Yeah.
And let's see. So really, as far as your sobriety goes, we've already covered that.
Yeah.
This is a special, unique, example of how you have come from becoming a huge lover of abusing alcohol and drugs to becoming sober to actually working on moderation with your husband to save your, like, that's something. You can write a book on that. I'm thinking, seriously. So I have some shortcut answers now. They're call it shortcut because we're called Scenic Route. I was trying to be cutesy. But
I like it.
So what was your worst memory using?
Oh, man. This is a hard one. I'm going to be really honest.
All right, do it.
I really am not going to hold anything back.
Don't do it. I wouldn't either. Give it to me. Lay it on me.
So this was when I was at the private university in DFW. And, but I was kicked out of that university. But right before I was kicked out, I went on a weekend with 3 guys. And we were in separate cars. And I remember we were driving to Houston. I don't even remember where we were driving to. But anyways, he had a bottle of whiskey in the car. And I, for some reason, was like, I'm just going to drink whiskey on this drive to Houston. And I black out in the car. Completely black out. And then I remember waking up in a hotel room. And there's blood all over the bed. And I don't know, I knew 2 of them. They were both church guys. And then one guy I kind of knew, and he wasn't really a good guy. But anyways, it was horrible. And I was just like, you wake up and you're out of sorts and you're like, what happened? And you don't remember anything. And it's like a horrible experience. So I would say probably that was one of the times where I'm like, I could have died. There were a million times I could have died, but I'm like, this is pretty bad. You know, you get yourself in the... I remember one time hanging out with my drug dealer. He would take me to places and there would just be like, it would be so horrible. There would be chained up pit bulls in the living room, and there would be just people making crack in the corners and doing all sorts of stuff. And it's like, you put yourself in these situations and you're like, you could die at any moment, and you never, because you can't trust anybody in those situations.
You just don't care who you're hanging out with. I mean, I used to go to a drug dealer's house, and he had this crush on me, and I would be alone in the house with him.
Yeah.
I mean, he could overtake me anytime he wanted to. So I had to just flirt enough so that it would, it would be like, hey, okay, maybe you have a chance. Maybe. But no.
It's true.
It's crazy because I wanted that drug. I don't care what I had to do. I had to have that drug. Yeah. Or I had to have that drink with the drug. And it's wild the things we put ourselves through. But man, I'm glad that you're still alive.
Me too. And what's funny is all the drinking and driving, like, oh my goodness, that I never killed anybody. I never got arrested. I mean, I've been in jail, but it was like sitting out warrants. But it was just, I really escaped a lot. And I don't know how I did that. God.
Well, I'm glad that you did. Our next shortcut answer is, what is the best piece of advice that you've been told regarding your sobriety? Let's say we've got a lot of people that listen and they do want to even have the piece of sobriety that you had for 10 years and they don't know how to get there. What piece of advice would you lend, based on what you've shared about being sober for so long?
The first thing that popped in my mind, it wasn't so much advice as it is like hindsight. When I looked back and I joined a 12-step program, I had 2 people that were like wanting to be my sponsors. And I felt so crappy about myself that I was like, nobody wants to be my sponsor. Nobody wants to talk to me. And like they would call me and I would be like, I can't believe they're calling me. I don't know why they're calling me. And I would be like, I don't deserve to have a phone call with them. And it's like, in hindsight, I wish I would have just been like, you deserve to have a sponsor. And it's like, I know there's people listening that feel the same way. I'm not pretty enough. I'm stupid. I do these. I've had all these F-ups. It's like, no. Everyone deserves someone to hold their hand and be like, I can help you because I did this before. Looking back, I wish I would have let people into my heart that were really trying to help me because I wouldn't. You feel so crummy about yourself.
Yeah, you do. Amen to that. I mean, people do deserve. And let's see, we had talked about in my last video about self-assurance. Mm-hmm. What are some qualities about yourself that you love today?
Oh, I like that I have red hair, and I do feel like I have, a crazy optimist, and it drives my husband crazy because he's a crazy realist, and it's, I don't know, I like that I'm an optimist. Like, my glass is always half full, and not my husband, my boss, he always tells me that I can make poison positive. And it's like, it's a gift.
I love that.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. I mean, seriously.
But I think when you walk through a life and like God brings you out of it, you're like, life is good.
I know. The world is your oyster.
Yeah.
And you just go for it. I mean, grab it by the cojones and just go for all it's worth is how I feel. I feel revived and feel like the relationship between me and God has been closer than ever.
Yeah.
And that's like probably the number one part for me in enjoying life today.
Yeah.
Is that. Can you think of, we just got done talking a little bit about the worst memory. Can you think of any funny memories? Like, how did my ridiculous self get myself in this? Or why did I do this?
Oh, man. I've ended up in hot tubs naked and all kinds of stuff, horrible things that you would never want your kids to do. So it's like, they were fun times, but no.
That's great.
I wouldn't wish any of it on anybody. It was horrible. Even the fun was not that fun.
Yeah, I know. It's true. I know we're making it look really fun, but it's just we're friends. And I'm telling you, you're right. I agree. Been there. Literally, maybe mine was more of a cold pool, but like I've been there.
You're doing it wrong.
Yeah, with a hot bottle of vodka. It was in the middle of the summer, hot bottle of vodka, cold pool. So yeah, I did it completely wrong. But let's see. Are there any, they use this term a lot in 12-step programs. Are there any burning desires that you have left to share?
Man, I don't know. I just feel like when I went to Bible college and I took all those classes on inner healing, I worked so much out. And that really takes years. So, no, I mean, also like telling who your spouse or who whatever it is that you've hurt the most, like telling them everything. Like, I never cheated or anything when I was doing drugs. I really wasn't that interested in any of that. I was just always wanting to get high. I wasn't really interested in guys. But I just think being totally vulnerable and totally honest, like, I feel like the devil uses shame on people, and it's like, and he wants us to keep everything a secret, but it's like, I don't know. I feel so free that I don't have to keep any secrets. And
It
so
feels good to feel free.
yeah. And so I would think that would be my thing is like, if you feel like you're holding something back because you're too ashamed of it, go tell somebody.
Yeah.
You'll feel free.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's why this interview has been so good.
Lay it all out.
Just laid it all out there. Is there do you ever, I guess before I end this, is there any inkling within you to ever see yourself get back on that road to sobriety?
Yeah, our church is doing like a 21-day fast, and our pastor was like, I really want everybody to do this fast because you might have a problem with drinking and you don't realize it. And I've thought about that a lot recently. I'm like, maybe I should just go cold turkey again. Because really, I mean, if you're only having 1 or 2 glasses of wine, you're not getting drunk anyways. I don't know. It was almost like a Band-Aid to save my marriage. And so I have thought about just going cold turkey again.
Can you promise me if you do hang out with me and we can have sober girls nights and
mocktails?
Mocktails, whatever. I mean, I just want to experience that life with you because you're so fun and I just adore you. I just love you and adore you.
I love you.
Like, seriously. This girl right here. This is, I mean, nobody has been that transparent in front of me. And I mean, there's a camera in front of us.
Really? Nobody's been this transparent?
I mean, no.
Wow.
I mean, I think that it's amazing that you have that freedom. I want everybody to have that freedom. Whenever I shared and I had that, that last post when I don't know if you had a chance to see it yet, but I had the reveal and I pulled off my wig and I felt so free. It's like, so what?
Yeah.
And I wish everybody can feel that feeling.
Yeah.
It's really not as bad. We live in so much fear in our lives that it really just cuts you off from your potential and from your God, I feel.
Yeah, so many people are afraid to say what they've gone through, and it's like, you shouldn't, because people have gone through way worse, way less, and pain is pain, and you need to embrace the pain and embrace whatever your higher power is, and love life. Love life.
Yes, love life.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'll say it again. I love you, and thank you so much for
I
coming.
Love you.
You are amazing, and
I love you.
oh, we have to. I would say we have to do this again.
Look at that. But I spilled all my beans.
I know you did.
I
but
spilled
that's
all
okay.
my tea.
Next time, bring your mom.
Yes.
We'll have a party. We'll have a tea party.
Yes.
And
I haven't even told my mom some of this.
Well, well, she'll learn.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be okay, right?
Oh yeah, she's amazing.
That's so great that you guys are so close.
Yeah.
But okay, well, thank you so much, everybody. That's Jennifer Simmons, author of Blessed at Bedtime.
Yes.
And go out and get her book. It's on Amazon.
Yeah.
All right. Peace out.
Bye. I said so much. I hope that was so good.
That was so good.